Emma never imagined she would lose Henry. He had always been the steady, patient one in their relationship. He remembered every little detail about her, like her coffee order with that extra shot of espresso, and he held her hand without a reason. He listened to her, truly listened, even when her words trailed off or she spoke in incomplete sentences. But perhaps that was the problem. She had grown so accustomed to his unwavering love, so used to his constant presence, that she began to take it for granted. What she forgot was that love isn't a guarantee. It's a choice, one that has to be made every day. For years, Henry had chosen her. He chose her when she was at her best, but more importantly, he chose her at her worst. But Emma stopped choosing him. Not through any grand gesture or betrayal, but in the small, almost imperceptible ways. It was in how she spoke about him to others, how she brushed aside his feelings with a laugh, and how she let her affection for him become an expectation rather than an appreciation. By the time she realized the depth of her neglect, Henry was already gone. At first, Emma hadn't given much thought to Henry's looks. In high school, love felt simple, based on shared moments, inside jokes, and late-night conversations. But as they grew older and their world expanded beyond their small circle, she began to notice things differently. It wasn't that Henry had changed. He was still the same caring, dependable man. It was her perception that had shifted. She started to become self-conscious, to wonder what others thought of them. It wasn't that Henry wasn't enough. It was that he wasn't the kind of man who turned heads. He wasn't tall or chiseled or the polished husband she saw in social media posts. And deep down, she allowed those insecurities to dictate her behavior. She started avoiding taking him to work events, hesitating before sharing photos of them together. She told herself it didn't matter, that love wasn't about appearances. But inside, something small and ugly whispered at her. Henry didn't mind, she told herself, but every time she distanced herself from him in public, she chipped away at something fragile, something that had once been so strong. She had built her life around an image, and, in doing so, she slowly erased the one person who had loved her without condition. It started with little jokes, playful teasing, and harmless remarks about Henry. Emma never thought anything of it. After all, Henry never seemed upset. He laughed along, never once pushing back. The jokes reassured her, making her believe it wasn't a big deal. But the cracks started forming quietly. Emma noticed how Henry began to hesitate before taking pictures, how he avoided mirrors, and how his once playful responses turned into faint smiles that never quite reached his eyes. She ignored it, convincing herself it wasn't important. But as time passed, she began to realize what she had done. Every laugh she had earned at his expense had taken something from him, and by the time she understood, it was too late to fix it. The night Emma lost Henry began like any other, a pre-party with friends, laughter filling the room, drinks flowing. Emma was at ease, effortlessly charming, always the one who could keep the conversation light. And as always, Henry was beside her, quiet but present, sipping his drink while she kept the spotlight. Then, without thinking, she made another joke at his expense, something about how if she kissed him, he'd still be a frog. The room erupted in laughter, but when Emma looked at Henry, the smile on his face was gone. He wasn't pretending anymore. His expression was unreadable, and his hands gripped his glass tightly. The laughter faded, and a heavy silence filled the space between them. Then, in a voice that was calm but colder than anything she had ever heard, he said, "Shut up." The room fell silent, all eyes shifting between them. And then Henry spoke the words that shattered everything. "If you don't like how I look, then why are you with me?" Without waiting for a response, he stood up and walked out. For the first time, Emma understood this wasn't a joke anymore. She had pushed him too far. Emma sat in the silence of their apartment. The door Henry had walked out of still standing wide. The emptiness in the room felt suffocating, as if his absence had sucked all the air out. She kept waiting for him to come back, waiting for the sound of his key in the lock, the soft click of the door as he stepped back inside, shaking his head and telling her that they could move past it. But he didn't return. When morning came, Emma had barely slept, her eyes swollen from tears she hadn't known she was shedding. Then the door opened, and there he was, calm, distant, unreadable. For the first time, Emma didn't know how to reach him. She hurried forward, ready to apologize, to explain that it had been a joke, that she never meant to hurt him. But before she could speak, Henry walked right past her. No anger, no confrontation, just a complete and utter detachment. She tried again, her voice trembling. "Henry, I didn't mean—" But he cut her off, his tone flat. "I know. You never do." The words hit harder than any yelling could have. The weight of every unspoken wound she inflicted on him came crashing down. He wasn't just upset, he was done. The silence between them was more painful than any argument could have been. As the door closed behind him, Emma felt a hollow ache settle deep in her chest. She had spent years chipping away at him, and now there was nothing left. No fight, no words to make it better, just a painful, suffocating silence. For the first time, she was terrified that silence meant the end. On the kitchen table sat an envelope, its weight far heavier than the paper inside. Emma stared at it, her hands shaking. She knew what it was before she even opened it. Henry didn't need to say the words. His actions had already spoken for him. But holding the envelope, seeing it in her hands, made it real. Divorce papers. Her breath caught in her throat as her fingers traced the signature. Henry, the man who had loved her with everything he had, was walking away, and she had no one to blame but herself. She thought back to all the moments when she had dismissed his feelings, all the jokes she made at his expense. Every time she had chosen her own image over his dignity. She had assumed his patience was endless, that love meant endurance. But now she saw the truth. Love wasn't about putting up with cruelty. It was about respect, and she had given him none. Her parents didn't offer comfort. They didn't try to console her. "You did this to yourself," her mother said bluntly. "You made your bed, now lie in it." Even her friends, the ones who had once laughed at her jokes, were distant now, avoiding the mess she had created. She was alone. Tears blurred her vision as she clutched the papers to her chest, the weight of her realization settling in. This wasn't just a rough patch. It wasn't a fight they could fix. Henry was gone, and this time he wasn't coming back. Emma had never known regret could feel this heavy. It wasn't just a loss of Henry. It was the realization of what she had done to him. She saw it all so clearly now, like a cruel film playing her mind on repeat. Every careless joke, every dismissive remark, every moment she had made him feel less than he was. She had spent years taking his love for granted, assuming that his patience would last forever. But love isn't a bottomless well, and she had drained it dry. She thought about reaching out, begging him to reconsider. But what could she say? "I'm sorry" felt meaningless now. It wouldn't erase the humiliation she had put him through, the years of quiet suffering she had ignored. Henry had given her chance after chance, hoping she'd see what she was doing to him. And when she didn't, he did the one thing she never thought he'd do. He walked away. Then came the final blow. Henry wasn't just leaving her. He was leaving everything behind, his job, his life, and a plane ticket to Denmark. The man who had once made her his whole world was starting over, far away from her. She had lost him completely, permanently. For the first time, Emma understood that some mistakes can't be undone. Some people don't come back. And sometimes the person you love most moves on while you're left standing in the wreckage of what you destroyed. Emma used to believe that love always came with second chances. She thought that no matter how much you hurt someone, if they loved you enough, they would stay. But Henry had taught her a different lesson. Some wounds cut too deep. Some mistakes rewrite the ending of a story, leaving no way to turn back. For months, she lived in regret, suffocating under the weight of what she had lost. But regret alone wouldn't bring Henry back. So for the first time, Emma stopped waiting for a miracle and started working on herself, not to win him back, but because she owed it to herself to be better. She started therapy, faced the ugly parts of herself, and learned what love truly meant. It wasn't about endurance or obligation. It was about respect, kindness, and ensuring the people you love never feel small. Henry was gone, and he wasn't coming back. But Emma found peace in knowing that even if she couldn't fix the past, she could make sure she never made the same mistake again. Maybe that was enough. In today's world, where image and social validation often take precedence, it's easy to overlook the people who truly matter. Emma's story serves as a reminder that love isn't about appearances, status, or what others think. It's about how you make someone feel. Too often, we assume those who love us will always be there, no matter how we treat them. But love, no matter how deep, has limits. If you're lucky enough to have someone who loves you unconditionally, cherish them. Speak to them with kindness. Appreciate their presence. And never let your own insecurities diminish the love they freely give.